The Kansas City Metro is located in two states, Kansas and Missouri. Which is better? This video will help you decide. I've got 12 different categories that you need to consider, and for each category, I'm going to be picking a winner, either Kansas or Missouri. So if you stick around until the end, you will see which one comes out on top. And also, if you stick around until the end, I will tell you the most common reason people choose one or the other, and I'm going to tell you why I actually don't think that's necessarily a good reason. So let's get to it. The first category is the crime. And for this category, I'm going to pull up 2023's homicide map and just kind of show you the differences between the Kansas City Metro in Kansas and Missouri. When we're talking about the Kansas City Metro, we're not just talking about like Kansas City. This big Kansas City here is Kansas City, Missouri. This is the state line that kind of runs through here. You can see the dotted line. And then you see the small Kansas City, that's Kansas City, Kansas. So we're not referring to the entirety of the Kansas City Metro, not just these two proper areas. But when you take a look, most of the crime is located, like I've said before in other videos, south of the river. This is the Missouri River. South of the river on the Missouri side. You can see when I make this barrier, this particular area right here is where most of the crime is happening. There's not too much in Lee Summit. This is pretty good. There's not too much in Blue Springs, but there's some in Independence. There's a lot in the inner city area here, okay? And then there's not that much in the Northland. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. When we move over to the Kansas side, use green for Kansas. So you got Kansas City, Kansas here, and this is this general vicinity right here. You can see that there's some kind of homicides, crime going on as well in Kansas City, but not nearly as much on the Missouri side. And then you've also got Johnson County, which is this large area right here, and even a little bit further down than what I'm showing you right here, and a little bit further out, including DeSoto. There's not too much in Johnson County. Now, wherever you move, there's always going to be crime. You're never going to necessarily avoid it altogether. If you decide to move up north in the Northland of Missouri, if you decide to move in Johnson County, there's going to be crime, petty theft. All of those things are prevalent there. I wouldn't say that they're common there, but they're there. So when we're looking at violent crime, or we're looking at a lot of the crime that you viewers are asking about when you're calling into the channel, you can see that most of it is located in Kansas City, Missouri. Now let me just show you one more map before I declare a winner. So you can see this map right here is just a general crime map. I think they map it crimes per capita. There are definitely some things that I don't agree with here. Because it's per capita, it makes these areas down here in like Blue Springs seem really, really bad, which they really aren't. This lake right here is definitely not a high crime area, but I think because it's per capita, they calculate it like that. Also, MCI, I would not be worried about getting robbed or jumped just flying into MCI. Again, it could happen because crime happens everywhere, but you can kind of see that this follows a trend here. You've got a lot of red here in the Kansas City, Missouri, south of the river. You've got some red here on the Kansas City, Kansas side, and then the rest is yellowish or even green. And so because most of the crime and violent crime is located on the Missouri side, I have to give Kansas the winner for this round. Now let's move on to something that is a little bit more lighthearted, which is the entertainment. But before we get there, if you are looking to relocate here, either to Kansas City on the Kansas side or Kansas City on the Missouri side, give us a call. We service the entire Kansas City Metro, whether Kansas or Missouri. 816-4-MOVE-KC. We've also put our email down below. We promise we will get back to you within a day. We have a whole team of agents here ready to help you relocate here to Kansas City. We get calls from all over the country. 816-4-MOVE-KC. Now when we're talking about entertainment, I really specifically have to ask you, what exactly are you looking to do? Are you looking to go out and party, to the bars, to the nightclubs, to the things to do? Well, downtown Kansas City is located in Missouri, and that's probably going to be your best bet. We've also got Westport, the Crossroads. All of those places are happening places. If you're a young hip person, not myself, like who's a dad, who's got kids at home that get to bed at 8 o'clock, then the entertainment is going to look a little bit different. For us, it's parks, it's Science City, it's Union Station, it's interactive things that the kids can do. And I would say, regardless of who you are, whether you're young and hip and cool, or whether you're like me and a dad and asleep by 9:30 every night, Missouri is definitely going to be the winner on the entertainment side. Here's the reason why. If you're a young family, Kansas has a lot to offer. There's a lot of great parks. There's a lot of great areas that you can go. I've talked before on the channel about the Deanna Rose Children's Farmstead. That's a really fun area. There's the Prairie Fire Museum in Overland Park. But those two things pale in comparison with what Missouri has to offer. If you're looking for parks, Missouri definitely has them. Lewis Park is an iconic park located right in the heart of Midtown, right near the Country Club Plaza in Kansas City. We also, on the Missouri side, there's also Union Station and Science City, which I would say is probably the most premier thing that your children can go to. And if you look at a video that we recently did, which is the kids vlog of kids things to do in Kansas City, the zoo is located on the Missouri side. There's tons of parks on the Missouri side. There's a new interactive children's story museum called the Rabbit Hole on the Missouri side. All of these things, of course, depending on where you live on the Kansas side, are easily accessible to you. It's not like if you live in the Kansas side, you can't come over to do all these things. But I would say most of the things that we do for our children are going to be located on the Missouri side. Most of the things that you would do if you don't have children and want to go out and mingle with people, meet people, go out in happening places, I would say most of those things are also happening on the Missouri side too. Not to say that Kansas doesn't have a few bars or places to catch a drink. They do, but again, most of it is on the Missouri side. So it's 1-1 right now. Kansas won the crime, Missouri won the entertainment. Now let's go to schools. Okay, with schools, let me pull up a list from a website called niche.com that rates the schools in the Kansas City area, and we will see exactly who's going to win with the schools. And as we scroll down here, the best school in the Kansas City area is the Blue Valley School District, which is in Overland Park. This is perennially going to be number one. It's definitely going to be number one, and it was number one on the old list. It's probably going to be number one in 2025. So we've got Blue Valley, that's in Kansas. We've got Blue Springs, which honestly, when I looked at this list first, I kind of found it a surprise, but this is on the Missouri side. We've got DeSoto, back on the Kansas side. Okay, so we've got 2 on the Kansas, 1 on the Missouri side. Let's move down. We've got Lee Summit, so 2 and 2. It's tied right now. Now we've got Olathe, that's on the Kansas side as well. It's 3 and 2 right now. Park Hill on the Missouri side, it's 3 and 3. Shawnee Mission on the Kansas side, it's 4 and 3 right now. The Liberty School District on the Missouri side, so it's even again. Going to North Kansas City, now that gives Missouri the edge. And then we finish with the Basehor-Linwood Unified School District, which gives Kansas the tie again. So as you can see, based on this list and this ranking, it's pretty evenly split. However, what I will tell you is that historically, Kansas has had the better schools, and because of Johnson County. So if you look at this list, these areas in Missouri, they're kind of littered everywhere. So Blue Springs is way on the east side of the metro. If you go, Lee Summit is right below Blue Springs. Park Hill is kind of diagonal to the metro there. Liberty is diagonal to Park Hill. It's kind of all over the place, right? And then North Kansas City is like smack dab in the middle of the city. The rest of these areas, Basehor-Linwood, this is the only one that's going to be in Leavenworth County. The other top school districts, I would say Shawnee Mission, that's in Johnson County. Olathe, that's in Johnson County. DeSoto, that's also in Johnson County, and Blue Valley is also in Johnson County. And because of Johnson County and because of the historic list of schools, I actually have to give Kansas the slight edge on this one. I know you'll say, hey, it's 5 and 5, but again, having been here and having talked to different people who have gone to these school districts, and also having looked at these lists in the past, Kansas has definitely dominated the list. I guess we're going to see next year how Missouri schools continue to fare, because I've never seen this many Missouri schools on this list before, I'm going to be honest with you. So let's give the slight edge to Kansas right now. So the infrastructure, I would say without a doubt, it is better in Kansas. I'm just going to lead with that. Having lived in Missouri for the full 5 years that we've been here in Kansas City, I would say that if you live in KC-Mo proper, Kansas City, Missouri proper, then you are in for a interesting experience with the infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, I mean roads, I mean trash, I mean electric, I mean water, I mean all these systems that make your house run and make Kansas City livable. The road cleanup, if you get inclement weather, is going to be better in Kansas. Power shutdowns. Evergy is the power company that services both Kansas and Missouri, and let me tell you, it's not a great power company. It's actually pretty horrible. Let me read this very recent post I found online about Evergy. This says, "Hi all, I apologize. I need to vent as we are going on hour 9 with no power, which is absolutely absurd. We were involved in the huge multi-day power outage in late May, and here we are again with yet another lengthy power outage. I made the call to Evergy to find out how many outages I've had since the beginning of 2023, and they recorded 10. So this is middle, August of 2024. I'm recording this. So beginning of 2023 to August of 2024, 10 outages. I grew up in the country of Kansas, which had pretty good above ground lines and could count on one hand the number of power outages we experienced in the 15 years I was there, one of which was the 2008 ice storm. But since moving to the Missouri side 3 years ago, I am in the double digits. At this point, I want to be a huge thorn in the side of Evergy and Missouri's Public Utility Commission, but something tells me I would be wasting my time. Anyways, rant over, just beyond frustrated at the joke of a power company that is Evergy. And this is more applicable to the Missouri side. The power lines, the infrastructure here on the Missouri side, I live in the Missouri side again, is a lot worse. When I talk to my clients who have relocated to Overland Park, to Shawnee, to Olathe, they don't have many of these problems. Sure, you might get a missed trash pickup here or there, but for us, trash pickup is kind of hit or miss. Our trash day is Friday, and I would say, 60-40, they're going to get it. I'm always like looking outside, anticipating, oh man, here's a trash truck. Is it going to pick us? Is it going to get our stuff today? And sometimes they drive right by. I don't know why. Maybe they're full. Truly don't know. With mail, we love our mailman, Chris. Shout out to Chris. He says he watches some of my videos. But I will tell you this, that sometimes we don't get mail for 3 to 5 days. And it's definitely not Chris's fault. I've talked to him about kind of the goings on behind some of the things that are happening with the mail system here. But again, it's just hit or miss here in Missouri. And also the potholes and the road repair and the road cleanup going to be way better in Kansas. Now that we're talking about potholes, road repair, and all that stuff, let's talk about transportation in general. Now, the potholes are worse in Missouri, but that doesn't necessarily mean that transportation is worse in Missouri. The gas is about the same. Whether you fill up in Kansas or fill up in Missouri, I would say you are going to have about the same gas costs. One reason why Kansas might win is because the roads are just better maintained, especially in the Johnson County area. Another reason why Kansas might win is because it has the KTA, or the Kansas Turnpike, and it's actually pretty cheap for a very well-maintained road that shoots you all the way out through Lawrence, through Topeka, if you wanted to go that way. However, Missouri has a lot of pluses in terms of transportation as well. I recently discovered this app that is run by Ride KC, and it's called Iris. I'm going to show you a screenshot of it right now. So with the Iris app, you actually have access to a ton of super cheap rides. But as you can see, I'm sorry for it being so cluttered, but as you can see right now, it's only servicing mostly on the Missouri side. So you can see it's servicing most of the Northland. Gladstone, you don't get to go to Gladstone if you want to use the Iris app. You also are excluded from North Kansas City. But for me down here, you have access to all of KC, and then you also have access to KCK. But you can notice Overland Park is not included in this, and most of Johnson County. In fact, this kind of weird line that goes right through Lake Quivira right here, this is the line for Wyandotte County. So Wyandotte County is included, but Johnson County currently is not. Now, this may expand, but I think this gives an edge to Missouri. I will warn you that if you use this Iris app, it is super, super cheap, but it takes a very long time for your car to get here. So if you can plan ahead, you can definitely make it work. But if you can't and you need a ride immediately, it's not good for if you're just landing at the airport and wanting to go somewhere, because really it's just going to take way too long and you're going to be waiting for a really long time. If you're okay with that, then you're fine. Then that's up to you. But that Iris app can get you a cheap ride in most parts of Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas, but not Johnson County. So that gives the edge to Missouri. Also, another reason I'm going to give this round to Missouri is because the streetcar that's slowly expanding is located entirely in Missouri. Right now, you can get a ride from the River Market all the way to downtown. However, they're going to expand it so that you can get a ride all the way down to the Country Club Plaza, which is going to be awesome. The construction is not awesome. I live right next to that, and the construction is not awesome. However, the streetcar itself is an awesome option, and it's completely free, just like everything Ride KC operates. So we're going to give this round to Missouri. So you can see the scores on the screen right now, and comment below, do you agree with how I'm judging this? Do you have a problem with the way that I'm kind of sorting out these things? I'm trying to be as objective as possible. Yes, I have only lived on the Missouri side, but I have helped plenty of clients move to the Kansas side, and I know the Kansas side super well. So again, that's why you need to give our team a call, whether you're considering Kansas or Missouri. So comment below, do you think that we are going about this fairly? Now let's talk about a big one, cost of living. Initially, I would have thought that Missouri would have won this one immediately because my gut instinct is, hey, houses are cheaper in Missouri because Johnson County is the highest priced county in the entire Kansas City metro. And while that still remains to be true, the rest of the Kansas City metro, especially on the Missouri side, has not caught up all the way to Johnson County, but the cheapness of Wyandotte and the affordability of Leavenworth kind of lowers the overall house costs in Kansas as well. It's not necessarily just going to go to Missouri. Let me give you the current numbers. Now, before I give you the numbers, I'm going to talk to you about how I calculated these numbers and what parameters I'm using. In Kansas, I'm talking about 3 counties. I'm talking about Leavenworth, Johnson, and Wyandotte County. In Missouri, I'm talking about 3 counties as well. I'm talking about Platte, Clay, and Jackson County. Out of those 6 counties, that makes up the central core of the Kansas City metro. Now, yes, you can go out to like Lafayette County and find a lot of cheap houses out there, and that's still considered the Kansas City metro. Or you can go to Cass County, or you can go out to like Douglas County. All of those areas would be considered part, and some of those areas would be considered part of the Kansas City metro, but those 6 that I named in Kansas, Wyandotte, Johnson, and Leavenworth, and in Missouri, Platte, Clay, and Jackson are definitely squarely entirely in the Kansas City metro area. So if you take everything, those 3 counties, if you look at those 3 counties, the average home price in Kansas is $383,000. And in Missouri, the average home price is $391,000. If we're looking at the median, which median is a useful number because it picks the exact middle number with a range of numbers, and it kind of excludes the $1 million homes and like the super cheap like homes that are sold for $10,000. If you just pick the median, the Kansas median is $336,000 and the Missouri median is $341,000. So higher average in higher average in Missouri, but lower median in Kansas. So that's kind of interesting. I'm going to declare this one a tie. I think that whether you move to Kansas or Missouri, you can find a home in your budget. Again, reach out to our team in order to do so, but you can find a home in your budget no matter the budget, unless you if you want $1 million home, you can find one in Kansas or Missouri. If you want a $100,000 home, you can find one in Kansas or in Missouri. Of course, it's going to limit you in areas the smaller your budget is, but again, I'm going to declare this one a tie. Category number 7 is a strange one, but you're going to want to know about it, and that is misunderstandings. When you relocate to Kansas City, regardless of where you're from, people are not necessarily going to understand exactly where you locate to. Number 1, they're going to assume that you live in Kansas. There are still people. We were relocated from California, and there are still people today that call us and say, hey, how is Kansas? And we have to say, well, we don't really live in Kansas. We live in Missouri. Most of Kansas City is in Missouri, and they have that misunderstanding. Now, if you relocate to Kansas City, Kansas, they're going to call you and say, how is Kansas? And they're going to be right, but then they're going to be talking about like the Chiefs and the Royals and Union Station and those iconic things that Kansas City is known for. And guess what? All of that is located in the Missouri side. So whatever Kansas City you choose, you're going to have misunderstandings. And then that's not to mention if you pick a more lesser known spot like Johnson County, or if you go to Lee Summit, or if you go to Liberty, or if you go to Independence, or if you move out to DeSoto, or if you move out to Overland Park, all of these areas, people are going to misunderstand exactly where you live because they're going to think, oh, you live next to, where the Chiefs play. Well, Maybe you moved out to Leavenworth and you're super far away from where the Chiefs play. Or they're going to say, oh, you're living in Kansas and maybe you picked to relocate to Lee Summit and you're not in Kansas at all. Again, because it's one city, it's actually two cities, but they're both called Kansas City in two different states. People are going to get confused regardless of where you move. So this one's going to have to be a tie as well. You're going to be correcting people no matter what. It's not annoying, and sometimes I don't even care to correct people anymore. If they call me and they say, hey, how's Kansas? I'll just say, hey, it's great. I love Kansas City, love my community, love living here. It's an awesome place to live. And I won't even bother to correct them because, again, they're not malicious with it, and they're not meaning anything by it. And you know what? If they ever came out to visit, they would know, oh, okay, this is I could see why this might be a little bit confusing. We've talked about home prices, but what about the type of homes? Let me give you a snapshot of the type of homes that you can get, because you can get super unique homes regardless of whether you pick Kansas or Missouri. Okay, so I'm in my app. Let's take a look at some of the homes in Kansas City. Let's start with Kansas City, Missouri, because this is the iconic Kansas City. This is basically what people think of when they think of Kansas City. And let's go to Midtown. I love Midtown. Let's go to an area that is up and coming and take a look at Brookside. Definitely an area that people love here. So let's look at this historic home in Brookside. I would imagine this home is going to be 100 years old. Yeah, this is 101 years or more, built in 1920. And you've got this beautiful home in Brookside, a 4-bed, 2-bath home right in the heart of Kansas City. And this is a super cool area. I would have no problem with relocating somebody into this area if they decided this was the type of home that they wanted to live. So you're going to get a lot of these 100-year-old homes in this immediate vicinity right here in Kansas City. The closer you get to, I mentioned Luce Park, okay? The closer you get to Luce Park, these homes are all going to be $1 million plus, right? Here's a 1.6. This is huge estate right near Sunset Hill, where Patrick Mahomes had a home before he sold it. 1.6 million. That gets you that in Kansas City, Missouri. Okay, let's move out to the suburbs. Okay, let's pick a suburb of Kansas City. We've talked about Liberty before. Let's go out to Liberty. So this home is going to, that's not a good one. So let's look at this $315,000 home in Liberty. This is a ranch style home. I would estimate built in the 50s or 60s here, just based on the look of it. So a little bit cluttered. Let's see if we can find one. Yep, 1958. So you can see they're out in Liberty. Let's pick a home that's even more like suburban. And that's here's a $542,000 new build. And this is right in the Staley School District in the Northland, north of the river. And then let's go out to, here's another unique area. Independence homes are probably built in the 50s and 60s down here. A little bit cheaper, 900 square feet. And this is actually pretty unique. It's a new build. It's built in 2024, and you can live in this new build for, well, $199,000. I didn't even know this one was here. So that gives you a snapshot of homes in Missouri. If you wanted to go out even further, let's just pick, I know Kearney is a super popular area that's growing. So let's go out to Kearney, and let's see, $519,000. I would think you're going to have some acreage with this one. Yeah, 3 acres, 2.99 acres on this ranch-style home out in Kearney for $500,000. So let's move on to the Kansas side. Let me show you some unique homes right here in Strawberry Hill. So these homes are crammed together. You can see the lots. They're super, super tight. $139,000 on Toro Me. I've actually shown a home that was very near this, or maybe even this one before. But this one is a 2-bedroom, super tiny home right on, nope, this wasn't the one that I showed, but very similar to the one that I showed. So if you want this really small house in the middle of a very cool up and coming area, Strawberry Hill, you can get that $179,000. Let's take a look at this one. Yep, you can see how close these houses are together. So you better be a good neighbor if you decide to move into this area and location. Some people don't like it, but I had a client who bought a house here, said it reminded him of New York. Never lived in New York, so I take his word for it, but that's what he said. Now let's move out to Leavenworth County, and you're gonna find that if you move out to Leavenworth here, Lansing is a popular up and coming area. Let's look 450 out in Leavenworth. This is probably gonna have nope, never mind. Pick another one. So 615 out in Leavenworth. This is also going to have some acreage. You have 2.4 acres. Cool looking home. 2007 build. Looks like it's a well maintained, nice looking house. If you want some land, you want to get away from it all, you can easily do that. This would be the equivalent of like moving out to a Kearney or something like that. If you didn't want to, I've sold some of these houses in Baser that were in a little subdivision here, so you don't have acreage here, but this is small pictures for some reason, but this is just, you know, going to be some subdivision out in Baser here. And then the largest county, most populous county with the best school districts, let's move down to Overland Park. And really in Overland Park, you can have almost anything that you want. You can have something for $615,000, 11,000 square feet. This kind of mid-century modern style that's super popular right now, built in 1947. Really cool looking house in a very desirable neighborhood, also with, again, the top ranked school district in Kansas City. And then if you have a ton of money and you want to move to Fairway, you can find something for $1 million here, 7,800 square feet. This is a James Engel construction. So this is a brand new build for 1.2. And then Leawood, which is known as one of the best areas to live in Kansas City as well. For $1 million, you can get this ranch, 5-bed ranch. Now, if you drop this ranch in Liberty, or if you drop this ranch in Lee Summit, it's going to be pretty pricey still, but it's probably going to be like in the 600s instead of million. So that just is the premium that you pay to live in Leawood. But again, kind of this mid-century modern style, very open. You can see a very modern looking kitchen here. Really nicely done. Built in 1959, but of course remodeled since then. And then for the let's finish out Johnson County by going out to Gardner. Gardner, you can definitely find some land out here. I have a client looking for land out here right now. Okay, so let's look at this, 9 acres in Gardner. So this is, you know, just a massive piece of land with a pond. Really nice, kind of smaller ranch style house, which is okay if that's what you want. It's only about 1,500 finished square feet. Built in 1972. It's a 3-bed, 3-bath house out in Gardner. And so that gives you a snapshot of the type of houses that you can find in Kansas City. If you're going to put a gun to my head and tell me to pick a winner between Kansas and Missouri, I'm actually going to pick Missouri. And the reason why is because that kind of first initial house that I showed you in Brookside, you can find some of those in Kansas, but I love those types of homes. The house that I live in right now is, I think, in 1921 or 1922. I can't exactly remember the year, but I know it's right around 100 years old. And while there are quirks to a 100-year-old house, I love my 100-year-old house. And I have a lot of clients who are looking exactly for something like this. And you can try to find that in Kansas, but you're going to find it much more prevalently in Missouri. And so for the types of options, I would say Missouri wins. Now, you can find new builds in both. You can find acreage in both. You can find unique looking homes in both. But the type of home that I like, and again, I'm making the list, is the kind of historic house that was built right around the 1910s to 1920s. You have a lot more options in Missouri. So moving on, let's talk about employment. In Kansas, you have a lot of manufacturing employment, you have a lot of healthcare, you have a ton of hospitals. The University of Kansas Medical Center employs a ton of people. That's right kind of in the heart of the city. In Missouri, you also have the same. You have a lot of healthcare, you have a lot of technology. Out here, you've got Google building a data center, Facebook building a data center out here. In Kansas, you have that DeSoto power plant that's coming up. So you have a ton of options for employment in both. I have a lot of people calling me and asking me about employment, and I would say I've never job hunted here in Kansas City. I can certainly try to hook you up with somebody who might know somebody with a job. But again, since my specialty is real estate, that's going to be what I focus on. I'm going to say, just talking to a bunch of people in both Kansas and Missouri, you can find gainful employment in both, and we're going to call it a tie. Now we are almost to the end. So again, if you stick around, I will tell you the main reason why somebody will pick one over the other. But before we get there, we're going to talk about the overall vibe. Now, I know the overall vibe might be a subjective feeling, but because, number one, there's more things to do in Missouri, there's more sports teams, more sporting events to go to in Missouri, there's more historic homes in the Missouri area, I'm going to pick Missouri to win the overall vibe. Now, Kansas is going to be a great area to live in, especially in the Johnson County area, if you kind of like that Orange County feel. Now, if you're not from California, you can pick your favorite, more high-priced suburb and insert it there. But Johnson County is a little bit boring to me. That's the cliche about Johnson County, and a lot of people criticize me. But again, I like what I like. We like going downtown. We like historic buildings. We like old stuff, and Missouri has more of that. So, the number one reason that people pick one side or the other is taxes. When people say, hey, I got a job in Kansas, I want to live in Kansas because of my taxes, I recently heard from a tax professional, don't necessarily let that be the only reason that you pick one state or another. So again, I'm going to tell you exactly how to pick at the very end of this video, but the number one reason is taxes. There are higher property taxes in Kansas, so lower property taxes in Missouri. But before I say this, I want to tell you that I am not a tax expert. You will save more money talking to a tax expert than listening to this video right now. So if you have any of those questions, please don't refer to me as a tax expert. I am just Googling these things and just trying to find out as much accurate information that I feel comfortable giving in front of you, because I don't want to be flagged for misinformation or giving you bad information. So what I'll tell you is this. The higher property taxes are in Kansas. Typically, Johnson County has high property taxes. Wyandotte County has high property taxes. Leavenworth has higher property taxes. Now, I will tell you this. Jackson County is trying to jack up property taxes on all its residents, and it's causing a big storm. So that may not be the same. That may not be the same thing if you watch this a year from now. I'll update this video. Sales tax. As of 2024, and I'm just reading what Google says, Missouri's sales tax rate was 4.23, plus a county sales tax, and that varies per county. Kansas sales tax is 6.50. Now, if you add Missouri's tax rate plus the counties, Missouri may end up higher depending on which county. And it also goes on to say, an average combined state and local sales tax rate is 8.65 in Kansas. That's, again, based on Google. Income tax. Missouri just went through an income tax cut. Great for us. Missouri's income tax rate was cut to 4.95. And there are 3 tax brackets in Kansas, either 3.1, 5.25, or 5.7. I guess that depends on how you earn. Again, talk to a tax professional. We both have personal property taxes if you're coming from California and you don't know what that is, like I do. For some reason, both Kansas and Missouri tax you for stuff that you already own. Your car. You'll have to pay taxes on that every single year you own your car. Stupid, I know, but I would say it's probably about the same in Kansas or Missouri. The one reason why Kansas is the winner for taxes is because if you live in KC-Mo proper, Kansas City, Missouri proper, you are subject to the 1% earnings tax. So if you have a KC-Mo address that you work out of or you live in, you will be subject to that 1% earnings tax. If you earn $100,000, that's $1,000 that's going to go to Kansas City, Missouri immediately. Now, like I said before, let's talk about how you can find the best place to live in Kansas City. What I would do is I would say, take this list into consideration. Take your job into consideration. So many of you who are calling us already have a job offer from somewhere in Kansas City. Talk to a tax professional. Figure out exactly what it would take to live in one state and do taxes in the other, or vice versa. To work in Missouri and then to live in Kansas and to do taxes in both. Again, I'm not a tax professional, but so many people just assume I work in Kansas, I need to live in Kansas. I work in Missouri, I need to live in Missouri. That's not necessarily the case. If you talk to a good tax professional, they can sort out this so that it can be easier for you. And then watch this video, make a list of pros and cons. If you are a young family, you can live anywhere and be happy because there's awesome parks anywhere. If you can live in Kansas or Missouri, find the types of houses that you like. If you like old historic homes and you want to be right in the heart of downtown, Missouri is basically your only option. If you want to be in the highest ranked school district, Johnson County is it. You're going to want to be in Overland Park in the Blue Valley School District. If you want to be close to the airport, guess what? There's no easy access from the Kansas side to the airport. It's mostly going to be, the upper north west quadrant of the Kansas City Metro, whether it's Parkville or Kansas City, Missouri in that area, or even Platte City. Those areas are going to determine what is most enjoyable for you. Now, if you're still confused about where to live in Kansas City, watch this video right here and it will help you out.